Okay, we have the green bars, we have the live counter sticking up, so we should now be live, which of course means welcome back to the Storytime Network. It is going to be a chatting stream today, so I'll be playing some FIFA in the background. I'm really not going to be, drawing attention to the gameplay. This is more just something to do, something for me to do with my hands, if nothing else.
Hmm.
Um,
There's gameplay in FIFA? What?
ugh, bad gameplay, or at least not great. Not gameplay I hugely enjoy. But yes, so I said at the before we started that I'd just seen that there has apparently been a statement. I'm not sure if it's technically official, but certainly apparently a source from Crunchyroll has commented on the issue with Necronomico's subs, which is that they were clearly AI generated, um, especially for
hmm
other languages. I believe German and Spanish in particular were pointed out, but I'm fairly sure it was also the same for English, just not quite as obvious. Um, Apparently, um, the AI generated subtitles were produced by a third party vendor and violated the vendor's agreement with Crunchyroll not to use AI generated subtitles. Um, They were asked whether the vendor agreement prevented Crunchyroll from editing the subtitles before release. The source neither confirmed nor denied this, merely stating that quality control is part of the agreement with vendors. So, interesting, I suppose. Um,
So for once, Crunchyroll is not the bad guy here.
I mean, it's sort of the same with. This has happened a couple of times now, hasn't it? Because it happened with the fucking family one, the four boys.
Oh, Yuzuki family's four kids, I think it
Yeah.
was.
Right, so I'm gonna turn that down. Because it happened with that, and then it happened with another one, I think.
I don't remember. It was Remao fucking around, though.
Yeah.
If I remember right.
No, it was Nokatan, wasn't it? It was Nokatan.
Nokotan, right? Yeah, that was Remao, though.
But the point is, it was uploaded to Crunchyroll, and the point was, the theory was that it was a third party. As it turned out, it was
hmm
Remao. Um, but the fact that it's happened again is not a great. It's not a great look for Crunchyroll. Obviously, it's a better look than them actually, purposefully using AI subtitles. But it's not. The fact that they still apparently can't fucking check properly is, it's not great.
hmm
Um, Also, seems to be confirmation that they are in fact, fucking. What's a good word to say? Good word to describe it.
Avoiding using.
I wasn't even going there. I was gonna say they are fucking subleasing out subtitling.
Ah, yes.
I don't think subleasing is the right word, to be honest, but fuck it, it's the best one I can think of right this second. Um, but yes, the fact that they are getting other people to do their subtitles, probably at cut rate prices, not good.
No, it's absolutely not good.
Like, yes, as I said, Crunchyroll, not the one solely to blame, but, there's still definitely an element of they should be doing better. They have so much money behind them. They have Sony's money behind them. They need to be
Mhm.
doing better.
Yeah, it's kind of like a requirement of their job at this point. So how's been your catch-up and award selection been going on?
Awards collection somewhat stalled, but I'll obviously get to it eventually. Um, Catch up has been going okay. Because I was 2 episodes behind on what I need to watch yesterday, but I've watched 2 episodes of Shoshiman today. So technically, I've just got the stuff that I need to watch for today left, which I should be able to do tonight. So I'm managing to keep up on that front. As I said, I should theoretically be at a stage where I shouldn't have to worry about having to watch anything on Sunday if I don't want to. I mean, I didn't sort of plan for whatchamacallit, fucking Guilty Gear like I said I would, so I might try and watch I might try and watch that, on Sunday if I get the time, but I'm not making any promises at all.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I fucked up a little bit because I did not realize that Uma Musume was 13 episodes until I watched episode 12, and it didn't end. Because as we will discuss,
Yeah, that's
as we'll discuss on Sunday, it ends in the middle of a race. I'm like, what? No, you can't just stop there. Wait, this is 13 episodes. It's gonna be 13 episodes, isn't it? Oh no, I fucked up.
you done goofed, dude.
Yeah, but it's fine. It's only one more episode. It's not too bad.
Oh, hello there.
Hey, Fuzzy.
Welcome, Fuzzmeister.
Do you think 2B ever pegs 9S, but like unseriously?
As an entrance to the conversation,
I will need an explanation as to what unserious means.
you know how
Just
some
like-
people are deeply unserious people.
Just sort of like going through the motions.
No. That might be A2.
You think the pegging is? You think the pegging is always impassioned?
My dude, I fairly recently played Nier Automata, and I watched the anime. There's nothing that those two don't do with a lot of passion.
That's a very fair point.
I would recommend the Nier Automata anime, by the way. It's actually quite good. Very good, in fact.
Really?
Yeah. It is probably...
I don't disbelieve you. I'm just sort of
It's probably the best
surprised.
best video game adaptation I would say I've ever seen. Like, for a regular video game. Which, to be fair, isn't a high bar. Most of them are dog shit, if not all of them are dog shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say the bar is in hell.
But, yeah, no, I mean, put it this way, I unfortunately didn't manage to finish it in time for our end of year stream, but I finished it in time for the tier list we did for 2024 anime, and I still stand by the fact that if I had finished it in time for our end of year stream, it would have been my sequel of the year. So,
Huh.
over, I think, probably fucking Dangerous in My Heart Season 2, I want to say.
The Dangerous with My Heart season 2 was one of the best season 2s there is, though.
Yeah,
For being fair.
Dangers in My Heart season 2 and Apothecary Diaries Core 2. Yeah, no, I definitely think I would have put it above both of those. I mean, obviously there was, when I first made that declaration, element of recency bias, but I think I'd still stand by it now.
Mm-hmm.
I have extremely complicated feelings on in My Heart.
How so?
Well, first of all, I must present the disclaimer of I did, and again, I understand what accusations will be made. I was a fan of it before it was cool.
Okay.
Sure, hipster.
Hipster.
I mean, I started reading the manga when it was only a few chapters in.
Alright, hipster.
Is this the world we live in where speaking the truth will get me accused of being a hipster?
Yes.
Is that where we are now?
Yes.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah,
Anyway, you were saying.
I've got complicated feelings on it, mostly because, I mean, it had a very bad start.
Oh no, 100%. 100%. I was the one who had to watch it, and I was like, "Oh, I do not like this. I did not like that premiere." And then it fucking managed to turn it back around. In three.
It shows like that 3-episode test was made for.
Yeah, it turned it around enough in the first 3 episodes that I was like, "Fine, I'll keep watching it," and then actually started enjoying it.
Yeah,
But no, that start is rough. It is really rough. I mean,
so for me, I definitely liked it quite a lot. Because, I saw that start, kept with it, and remember, I was basically reading the manga as it was ongoing.
yeah.
So I had to, there was a lot of, mental gymnastics that had to happen to, watch that at the start. But I stuck with it. And I was not necessarily disappointed. It's one of those series where I find that the vast majority of it is very, very good. And there's just a couple of plot points that I personally am not the biggest fan of. And as a result, because it's so good in other aspects, I find myself almost nitpicking too much. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. So season 2 of the anime ended with the confession. So if you want to talk about any of your nitpicks up until then, you are free to.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because most of my nitpicks do in fact come from after that point.
Fair enough. I would prefer that you not say it because there's a movie coming, I think.
No, I won't. Don't worry. Don't worry, I won't.
Compilation movie.
Hopefully season 3 then.
But overall, I do like the series. It's just one of those series that there are decisions things I would have done differently.
That's understandable.
I mean, certainly my reasoning for giving it sequel of the year was that, as a whole, as a season 2 compared to season 1, it really was just an improvement in every aspect, and I always try and reward that. I mean, I think I did it with Vanitas Part 2 back when it aired. But overall, it really was just a really enjoyable romance story. Um,
It's really what the bar is, isn't it? Gotta be an enjoyable story.
has some absolutely fucking hilarious moments.
Mm-hmm.
Kiroro's like sort of chuny middle schooler patheticness really lends itself to comedy.
Yeah, I was
Indeed
also
it
going to
does.
say it's once again I'm happy to see a protagonist that is not, you know,
Hmm.
6'9",
Oh yeah, no,
420 pounds of pure muscle.
Mm-hmm.
he is
He's a short king.
he's a short king, but he is very much a more typical middle schooler than you probably do get in a lot of these in a lot of romances that aren't as good.
I do think that might be one of my sticking points.
Hmm.
I would have preferred it to not be a middle school story.
Yeah, no, I can get that. There is probably an uncomfortable amount of sexualization and fan service towards Anna.
Mm-hmm.
My brother in Christ, you have no. Have you read the manga?
No.
Then you have no idea how correct you are.
Hmm. I mean, I know one of my issues for the first season was that the other boys in Kyo and Anna's class were uncomfortably realistic, let's say, in their
Yeah,
behavior
no,
and
but they were a
can-
very accurate representation of middle school boys. Yes.
Mhm. They were gross. I can't fault the depiction because I'm fairly sure that's what I was like at that sort of age, but it doesn't make it better. It doesn't make me more comfortable watching it.
If you think that's rough, remember that I went to an all boys middle school.
I don't know if that's better or worse.
Um, it's complicated. And it's not something I can talk about on stream, but
Mm.
it's a mixed bag. That said, yes, basically, adolescent boys are some of the most disgusting creatures on planet Earth, and I think that's something that is a completely non-controversial statement.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
For a second there, I thought y'all were gonna
No, there's just not much more to
offer.
be said about it.
But yeah, I think the age range is one of the sticking points for me, certainly. Especially given some of the later content.
Yeah.
Though again, it's you know what? I think you've actually hit the nail on the head, and in a way that I just wasn't able to articulate. It balances like storytelling and whimsy with realism in a way that I am not necessarily
Comfortable with.
comfortable with, in the sense that I think it leans too far, at least for my personal tastes, it leans too far in the direction of realism.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and I can understand that for sure.
Like, if it was up to me, I would prefer it to be a bit more whimsical. But it is very. I do understand that it's a much more of a matter of taste, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, absolutely. There are some people who enjoy a couple who are dog shit at communicating. I fucking hate it.
Oh yeah, that's
I
just.
think most people who are reasonable hate it.
You'd say that, but then people really fucking like what is it? What are the two big ones that I can remember? Adachi and Shimamura. That really got my nerves.
I haven't thought about that series in a while, but now that you mention it, yeah.
Adachi and Shimamura and Cherry Magic, I think, was the other one that really got on my nerves. And both of them were because they aired in the same season as another romance that had really good communication. And as a result, I got irked.
Yeah, that is the nature of comparison, isn't it?
Because Adachi and Shimamura aired in the same season as Tonikawa Season 1. And, fucking Cherry Magic aired in the same season as A Sign of Affection, which had really good communication. And I remember, certainly for Cherry Magic, I remember even putting in my notes, for God's sake, take the lessons of A Sign of Affection, please, and just talk to each other, you morons! Stop creating issues for yourselves by not speaking.
Yeah, I just.
That's too easy.
It is very irritating that so many series think that that's a substitute for good writing.
I mean, it's in part because they need to add, drama to keep things interesting for the readership or viewership. Just when it's done badly, it can be very obvious, and therefore, be bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not even that. It's just that like the trope in and of itself has some inherent issues. But not for the reasons you think. It's because there are certain trends in human behavior that suggest that, yeah, there are plenty of relationships that are built on a foundation of not communicating with each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's dumb, but it's also a sad
Fact
reality.
of life, yeah.
Yeah.
Some people just aren't good at communicating.
It's not even about being good at communicating or not. Part of it is very much the patriarchy and toxic masculinity, right? Like it's for heterosexual relationships at least, there is a sort of expectation that you know what I'm trying to say. Like I'm not articulating it well, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
The stereotype for men is to be emotionally unavailable, yes.
Essentially, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which, results in not communicating with their partner.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mess all around, and it's also like there's an aspect of not like being properly ready for situations where communication is necessary, just because you're not taught.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a this is not a necessarily gendered issue.
Hmm.
I think one of the it stems from inherently you are going to find yourself in a lot of situations that because they are socially uncomfortable, you are not trained for because the people who should be training you for it were too uncomfortable to even mention it.
Yeah.
Not
That's
to
the sort of
mention they were also, or also a case of they were also not trained for it, and thus
I mean,
they don't know what to tell you.
that's the toxic cycle, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And basically all of that taken together sums up to approximately, well, guess we don't know how to adult. Like, people complain about the millennials and the lack of ability for adulting, but, like, there's a reason for
Yeah.
it.
I mean, part of it is that, things have changed a lot in the last, 40, 50 years.
Oh yeah, social norms have changed. Expectations in general have changed. A lot of people have changed. Oh, not nearly enough, according if you ask me.
Oh, yeah, look at what's fucking happening in politics right now, but I don't want to
Like,
get into that.
let's not get into that.
Just know that both Jack and I are very unhappy with our governments right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what my government is doing right now.
Probably nothing.
The sad thing is that doing nothing might actually be for the best.
Doing
It's
nothing
when they
is
start.
better than what our governments are doing, but let's not get too deep into politics.
It's better than doing the bad thing. It's not as good as doing the good thing.
Unfortunately, with governments, you sometimes just gotta take what you can get.
Mm.
So, on the subject of gay frogs,
Where are you going
are
with
y'all
this?
familiar with are y'all familiar with Battletoads?
Vaguely.
I've heard of Battletoads.
Yeah.
So y'all don't have the experience of having a lot of fun with the first level and then on the Sega Genesis and then bashing your head against the wall repeatedly at the second level, which is essentially just a test of reaction speed, which I didn't have.
I don't think I ever had a Sega Genesis.
Oh, neither did
Nor
I. I
did
played it
I.
on an emulator, but like, you know what I mean.
Yeah. But no, that is not a
Yeah.
game I've searched out to play.
Older games really they so I do disagree with these so-called the Gen 1ers, for example. I disagree with the notion that old games were uniformly better, like wholeheartedly. But there were certain structures that old games had that have been seeing a resurgence for good reason because they are fun structurally. It's a matter of refinement, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Though on the subject of old games and difficulty, I have thoughts on game difficulty.
I'm sure you do.
Would you like to preempt me by changing the subject?
No, you can have your thoughts. I just, have a feeling I know what they are, and they're not going to line up with, well, not... They're not going to line up with some people's, let's say. I'm not going to name names at all.
But what about you? What are your thoughts on game difficulty?
I mean, I do think the games like fucking Dark Souls should have, at least elements that can make it easier. There are reasons why I, haven't played those games, and part of it is just the general, vibe of the series where you have to be a lot more self-motivated than a game that has specific quests, let's say. But part of it is that, I'm just never going to be that good at those style of games, and, maybe I could get better at them if I'm able to put the time in, but, who has the fucking time nowadays?
Mm-hmm.
So the ability to, make it even just a little bit easier would be really nice, and would stop me from getting frustrated at these games. I mean,
Those are the type of games, like, they seem to have good stories, and I'd like to enjoy those stories without having to, bash my head against the wall 12 times over.
I mean, to give an example, I was playing, what was it, Neo a while back, and then fucking, I think I was playing basically the sort of new game plus harder difficulty, I guess, because I had stopped doing the DLC because I'd gotten to a boss fight that, even, the experienced Souls-likes players were going, no, this is horseshit, this is incredibly difficult. And I'm just there, just like, well, I'm not even, like, half as good as them, so how the fuck am I gonna do this boss fight? There are strategies online for how to beat that boss, and they all involve using, strategies and weapons that I haven't been using, because I want to enjoy the game by playing in my certain style. So yeah, I had to stop playing the DLC altogether because of that. Started playing the hard mode, was basically 95% of the way through a level, and then I got fucking killed by 2 bullshit enemies. And I got incredibly frustrated. And had to be... since then, I haven't gone back to the game, which is a shame, because I do actually quite like Neo. But sometimes it's just frustrating. So the ability to not avoid that altogether, because at the end of the day, I'm going to get frustrated at games, because that's my personality. But the ability to not get quite as frustrated quite as often would be very nice.
I do think we as a society need to expand our definition of masochism.
Probably. But,
Okay,
going to
first of all,
going to the game that I'm sure probably started your thoughts on this discussion. I'm probably not going to play Expedition 33 anytime soon. Because I know what I'm like, and I probably won't be good at that game, and therefore I probably won't enjoy it very much.
To be fair, doesn't the easy mode literally just turn it into a pure turn-based game without need for parrying?
I honestly wasn't aware that it had an easy mode, so I don't.
Yeah, it has. It is on. It does have difficulty options.
Then why did it start a fucking discourse?
because there are a lot of horses with discs in them.
Yeah, like,
I'm not apologizing.
how long have you, like, you've been on the internet your entire life, Millington. You know why there was discourse.
And
Because it was there.
that doesn't mean I can't be angry when something, when a discourse like that has started so pointlessly. Especially when it's, effectively been dropped on the fucking front mat of my house.
I'm not apologizing.
And I've had to fucking deal with the repercussions of said discourse.
Yeah, so
I don't care. I don't care if stupid discourse happens where I don't have to deal with it. That happens every day. When I actually have to deal with it and it's fucking stupid, yeah, I'm gonna get annoyed.
Listen. Don't blame the game. The game has an easy mode. Is all I'm trying to say.
Either way, I'm still probably not going to play it for a while. If ever, I don't know. We'll see if I ever have the time.
Aren't you legally obligated to either not play it at all or play it and then viciously mock it for being French?
Probably.
It is very French.
Yeah, no.
I mean, technically I'm Scottish right now, so I don't know if the same rules apply.
And yeah, I don't think you can wiggle out of it that easily.
I didn't really read the full contract when I crossed the border. I was too happy to be getting out of England.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Oh, do you... there's a trope that I found myself, like, it's one of those things where as the older I get, the more I find myself drawn to this trope.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a trope that is truly a work of fantasy, because it's something that doesn't seem to ever exist in real life. The reasonable authority figure.
Ah, yes.
I find myself recently, whenever I come across a series with a reasonable authority figure, I'm like, that's very nice. It's a very, very refreshing change of pace.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, it's a very, it's very interesting for me to examine my own feelings in that way.
Yeah.
Because I did spend 2 years going to see a psychoanalyst twice a week who I still maintains had very similar appearance to Sigmund Freud.
Okay. Did he have similar opinions as Sigmund Freud? Was he telling you?
Thankfully, no.
Was he telling you all your issues were to do with?
No. Thankfully, no. He was. There were issues. He had some problems, but like that was not one of them. But oh yes. To give you an idea of what the modern psychoanalyst is like.
Mm.
Psychoanalysts aren't, in the modern day, are not all about your mom, as it were. Okay. No, the modern psychoanalyst has different issues. Jack, are you familiar with a book by the name of The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog?
I vaguely recall hearing about it at one point.
I asked because that was a text for my child abuse course.
I'm glad you finished that with course. I was worried that you were abused as a child and your abuser was just reading this book for ideas.
Okay, let's not get into that discussion. Though I should give a disclaimer. It was a course about the psychology of child abuse, not a course on how to abuse children. I should have opened with that.
Mm.
Anyway, the author of the book, who is basically one of the sort of pioneers of the child psychology field in terms of treating victims of child abuse, he mentions a time when he was one of his patients was a child in a single mother home where the mom, I think it was like Chicago in the 70s or 80s, with a black single mother with two children, sort of struggling to support her family.
Yeah.
And they lived quite far away, and as a result, they would have to set out very early, take several buses to get to the appointment for the treatment. And they missed an appointment one day, and the psychoanalyst colleague of the author said, well, clearly the fact that they missed an appointment means that they are subconsciously resistant to treatment, and so you should probably either reinforce the hierarchy of treatment or give up on them. Meanwhile, the guy was like, my brother in Christ, they're poor and they missed the bus.
Yeah.
And that is basically psychoanalysts in a nutshell. Because you're trained to sort of analyze, as the name suggests, it becomes very easy to read far too much into things.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
So there is to be a proper psychoanalyst, you need to figure out the balance between when is this a major psychological issue that I need to look into, and when is the cigar just a cigar?
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily have the experience to do that myself, but I at least have an idea of what it looks like when you don't do it right.
Mm-hmm.
Which is something, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, on the subject of mental illness, let me bring up one of my more quirky mental illness quirks. Do you guys ever? I'm fairly certain the answer to this is no. Do you guys ever read a story and imagine that the characters in that story are different versions of the characters of another story you like?
Sometimes.
I mean,
Not
fan
often, though.
fiction, so
No, not explicitly. It's not written in the text. You are the one who is imagining it.
I mean, no, I think.
In my case, I like to imagine sometimes when I see two characters that I view as being similar, regardless of whether or not they are objectively similar, I have a tendency to be like, aha, this character, in my headcanon, is a reincarnation of this character from a completely different author, universe, and possibly even nationality.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, why do I do that? That wasn't a rhetorical question. Why do you think I do that? Psychoanalyze me like one of your Swedish boys.
Oh.
I'm a historian. I can only analyze what you do after you're dead.
Then just pretend I'm dead.
I'd rather not.
Legally, I can't.
Elaborate.
They'll take my historian license away from me.
Well, we can't have that, can we?
If I don't have it, I'm not allowed to say whatever bullshit I want about history.
Oh, that's absolutely not allowed.
Especially not seeing as I'm in the middle of writing a 100,000 word book on Reagan and Gorbachev's sexual relationship, so...
There's so many directions to take that. I don't even know where to go.
That's why it's a whole book. It started off as just an article.
So, I know you're joking, but do you know what the funny/scary thing is?
Probably somebody's tried it.
Yeah! There's a non-zero chance that that book exists. And I don't know if that fills me with joy or dread. It fills me with something. But I can't quite identify what.
Hmm. But yes, I mean, look, at a guess, you enjoy the characters and so you want to imagine them in different scenarios. Especially when, you know, the canonical material has run out.
I would also say that there are times when I just really want to pretend that I have more control over these characters than I do.
Hmm.
Basically, I sometimes just want to write fan fiction without writing fan fiction, as it were.
Yeah.
Though on the subject of fan fiction,
Yeah.
Do you ever regret being as into fan fiction as you are?
Sometimes, but not that often, I would say. Why?
Yeah, just genuine curiosity. I just it's one of those things where it is very much something that was deeply relevant to me and then later became much less relevant to me.
Hmm.
And so it's just something I'm curious about.
I mean, it's one of those things I now sort of regret, I guess, how I got started with fan fiction, which is, you know, Harry Potter fan fiction. But that's less because of the fan fiction itself and more because of the, you know, fucking series as a whole. I mean, actually, no. To a certain extent, I am grateful to the Harry Potter fan fiction because it made me realize just how dog shit the transphobe who tweets is at writing.
Yeah,
Because
that's
you know the first stuff that I was writing was a lot more sort of complementary to the Harry Potter universe, and then at some point my taste started shifting, and it started to be a lot more of this is what canon got wrong because it's fucking stupid and badly written.
There's like, I do sometimes wonder, do you think like the Harry Potter series was ever salvageable?
Yes. I mean, it would have taken actually keeping it as a children's book series, I think. Because certainly a not insignificant portion of its problems come from that.
Okay, this actually sort of pivots us into a very interesting discussion. How do you strike the balance between keeping a series true to its original nature while also accommodating fans who grow up? Because I feel like there are two extremes of this. One of the extremes, even leaving aside the fact that it's written by a monster, one of the extremes is to like hard pivot to the sort of gritty adult writing, like with Harry Potter, and the other is to completely ignore all of your younger fans who grew up with the series, like with Pokemon.
So,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, part of the issue with Harry Potter is that it was only a sort of mildly okay children's book series. It had a lot of stereotypes. Avoiding those stereotypes would be the first step. Because the stereotypes lock you into a certain form of narrative, in my opinion, as it very much did with Harry Potter. Too many characters were effectively caricatures, and so trying to give them depth retrospectively, it just didn't work. Because it was a children's book series, there wasn't much thought given to the world building, and so the world was incredibly weak. It was set around fucking 5 locations, effectively. If that.
Mm-hmm.
So, avoiding those types of issues is the first step. The next step, I would say, is, and to be fair, Harry Potter probably did this in an okay way, is to do it gradually. Well, you either do it gradually or you do it all at once after the series is over, sort of thing. Because what you can do is, you finish the first series keeping it children's book, and then you have a sequel series that's, more serious, and so, it doesn't feel necessarily as jarring. You don't have to have the same characters, so you can avoid the, characters who are just caricatures. Unfortunately, Harry Potter made their caricatures central points of the fucking plot. Cough, cough,
yeah, that was awkward.
Cough, cough, Snape. So
no. Yeah,
it's definitely possible. Rowling just isn't a good enough writer to actually pull it off.
Yeah, I can absolutely see where you're coming from with that. And I do agree with you that it is
I would
it's
also
possible to balance that. But you also, but let's for a second, let's look at the counterexample as well, or not the counterexample, but the opposite direction. Pokemon.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. I genuinely don't think that, it's altogether necessary to even do that. Because you look at Pokemon, you look at a show like Phineas and Ferb, which is clearly made for, a maybe not, young audience, but younger audience than is probably watching it, and it's still successful, even though it is, it is the most formulaic show that I think I've ever seen, but it's still really successful. And, it's successful with people outside of the age demographic that it is aiming for.
Okay, something just occurred to me that makes me deeply concerned.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is Phineas and Ferb a Hype Moments and Aura show?
No.
No, because I would say they build up to a lot of the stuff.
But like you can see,
I can sort of see where you're getting from, yeah.
Yeah. Because like it's not necessarily, it isn't strictly speaking a Hype Moments and Aura show, but it is a show with a lot of hype moments and aura, so to speak.
I mean, look, the writers are just very, very clever at how they manage to fit in elements of character building while also still being able to keep with the formula of the show. Doofenshmirtz is the greatest example of that because he starts off as this, as this bumbling evil scientist, and as the series goes on, he gets so much more depth to him, even though, doing the same thing over and over again, creating some stupid fucking Inada that Perry then foils. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it also
everyone
helps.
loves Doofenshmirtz now.
Yeah, it helps that they've got like 100 or something episodes to do it in.
Doofenshmirtz does low-key carry that show.
Honestly, not even. Like,
I don't think it's as much as some people claim it is, because I genuinely do think, the storylines with, with Phineas and Ferb and the other kids and Candace are actually still really fucking fun a lot of the time. And it has been really nice actually to see with the with it coming back, there have been more people actually giving I think Ashley Tisdale, is it Ashley Tisdale, voice of Candace?
I think so. Yeah.
Is she?
Yeah.
I was unaware of that.
Yeah, giving her basically like her flowers for how actually good she is in the role.
Mm-hmm.
I was under the impression that Ashley Tisdale had something of a falling out with Disney. So,
all right, I'm gonna check that because I'm fairly sure I'm right.
I don't necessarily doubt you. I'm more just surprised than anything.
It is Ashley Tisdale. Yeah. Okay, cool. I was right.
Okay. Huh. That's I just was genuinely unaware of that.
I mean, look, while I'm, giving Phineas and Ferb props, I have to give it props for just how many absolute fucking bangers they come out with in terms of music.
Considering
they have
very
like
good on the music front.
I would say at least a song an episode, sometimes two. Like,
It's not that frequent, is it?
maybe it's less frequent, but still, they come out with music, a lot more often than they should be able to, and so much of it is so much better than it should, given how often it is.
Yeah, no, the music is kind of better than it has any right to be. Though it is Disney, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
They're not exactly lacking in talent in that department.
Disney is kind of a talent vacuum.
But so okay, we have however struck one of the more important points. It is fine to maintain it as children's property on the condition that the quality is also maintained.
But, I think that's true of everything.
No, so here's my question. Do you think Pokemon has done that?
I think... Look, this is me speaking as somebody who has not played... Just played maybe 2 Pokemon games in my life. I think they are starting to experiment more, and I think that is interesting, and I think that is, a good sign. Because I know Scarlet and Violet was... had more of a standard RPG with quests feel. They're also doing these sort of side games like Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu, and the one where they go to the past. I can't remember what that one was called. If that was even a different game from
Legends.
Legends, yes. So they are trying different stuff, which I do find interesting, because it does seem to imply that they've realized they can't just stick to the same formula. People are now getting unhappy with them sticking to the same formula.
Well, they stuck to the same formula for so long because it worked.
Well, yes and no. They did. It did work, but not necessarily because of the formula itself, but because there was a. I almost feel like Pokemon was in a period where it was too big to fail. And I think what may have happened is that they kind of are no longer have that luxury to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And that's what's led to the whole to their. Though again, I also haven't played a Pokemon game since Gen 7, so.
I mean, put it this way. From what I watched of, I think it was probably Grant playing through Scarlet, I saw enough there that I would genuinely be interested in playing it. Which is not something I have said for any of the other Pokemon games, not even fucking Sword and Shield, which was set in, in a country
England.
based on my country.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Pokemon is okay. Well, let me turn the question back to you. What do you think is an example that's done that poorly? Since we've already covered an example that's done it well in the form of like Phineas and Ferb, what do you think is an example of that that's done it poorly?
That's stuck to its formula in a bad way.
Yes.
Uh, I'm honestly not sure off the top of my head. But we are, effectively talking about series that have I'm trying to think. Because I'm also. Do you want an example of a game series like Pokemon that was initially made for younger kids and has had to adapt to an aging audience, or just one in general?
Anything.
Um. I mean, I suppose stuff like Call of Duty, I guess.
That's a great example, actually. Yeah.
I mean, yes, they are still popular and they still get a lot of marketing, but I don't think they're anywhere near as popular as they were at their peak. With the Modern Warfare games coming out in particular.
Modern Warfare and the first Black Ops trilogy, I think, were the peak of Call of Duty's popular.
I don't think they're anywhere near as popular now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Call of Duty has very much fallen off. Like in general, the modern military shooter has sort of.
But to be fair,
it's been declining quite a bit.
Can we say that they've stuck to their formula? Because I know they have effectively, they're almost a live service game now, I think, aren't they? And more
Kinda.
sort of.
It's still first-person shooter.
I mean, yeah, but I'm not sure if you can call that sticking to the formula. But they're a lot more focused on the multiplayer than they initially were.
Other than the campaign, yeah.
Yes, games like the Modern Warfares and the Black Ops had multiplayer, but there was, still a distinct story and campaign attached to it. Whereas I think they've, effectively certainly stopped doing that as often now, if they're doing it at all.
No, that is a good point, yeah.
And part of that, probably is as a result of its, or that is part of why the popularity has faded. Certainly, I wouldn't want to get a Call of Duty game now if it didn't have a campaign, because I was never that big of a fan of the multiplayer. Again, going back to what we were saying about the game difficulty, because I was never that good at it. I never had the reflexes for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said a little while ago, like a month or two ago now, I did actually replay Modern Warfare 2 on my PS3. I played the fucking campaign mode, and it was enjoyable enough. Certainly I would say a lot of the enjoyment was from a nostalgia point of view, thinking, oh yeah, I remember all this. I was also
there was a memories element to it.
Also very interested that it was not that long of a story.
Was it shorter than you remembered?
Yeah, it's just shorter than I expected, really. Because again, I'm not that good at these games, and so I, I was definitely dying a few times on certain missions, but I still managed to finish it in sort of playing it over 2 nights. I would say probably less than 10 hours, maybe a little bit over. I'm not expecting a 100-hour campaign from Call of Duty, but I was still expecting maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, I am terrified by the human brain's capacity for nostalgia sometimes.
But going back to what we were talking to, I would also say the Telltale games.
Oh, that's a great example, actually. Yeah.
I don't think they.
Because they had the really well received Walking Dead ones and Guardian, not Guardians, Batman games. Whereas some of the others were not nearly that well received.
I mean, part of that issue is that the Telltale games are because it is effectively a point-and-click adventure. It is so reliant on having good writing, and some of them just did not have good writing.
Yeah, you say Walking Dead games like they're, but the fact of the matter is, the second and third season of the Walking Dead Telltale was almost entirely carried by the truly spectacular first season.
So I've got all 4 seasons of it now. I am going to play them at some point.
There was a 4th season?
I'm assuming that was... Yeah? I thought there was a 4th season.
Anyway, yes, but yeah, the point is...
But anyway, the point I was going to make is, yes, first season incredibly well received, second season less so, third season really not at all, and then they did actually manage to bring it around with the 4th season. But I would say part of that decline is also due to the decline of the popularity of The Walking Dead. Because it was hot shit during that first season, not so much during the third season.
And for good reason.
For good reason. Again, similar to the games, I would say the base TV show did actually manage to bring it back around towards the end of its run. Probably not to its heights, but it was still, it was a lot better than it had been in sort of that really draggy middle run. I honestly have no idea how they're doing with all the fucking spin-offs they're doing. Some of them I think have been good, some of them have been, yeah. But yes.
I mean, I think the moral of the story really is that the term formulaic has become almost a boogeyman to a certain extent. And while that is not without reason, you do have to remember that formulas exist for a reason.
Well, if we're going for examples of games that had a formula, decided not to stick with them to their detriment, I'm playing one of them right now.
Ah, yes.
Oh yeah, FIFA.
Sports games in general have, I would say, have a habit of messing with their formula too much when, I would say, yes, they should, try and update the gameplay every, 2 or 3 years, but otherwise, it should just be squad updates.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I entirely agree with you.
And they shouldn't be trying to make you buy new games for those squad updates. At least not full price. Jesus Christ, FIFA. Or should I say EA Sports FC now?
EA Sports is in the game.
I'd also like to make it clear that while I'm complaining about this, I've not spent any money on this game. This is purely through Game Pass and EA Play, which does not count as me spending money on this game. I don't think I bought a FIFA game since, I think the last one I probably bought was 2018. And probably for...
Why did you buy a FIFA game in 2018?
Because unfortunately, I very much need a game to play when I'm like watching videos or listening to podcasts, and this is one of the games that I definitely know that I can play entirely mindlessly. Unfortunately, there are only so many of those games about that I can actually do that with. Trust me, if there was a good enough and difficult enough rugby game that I could do it with, I'd be doing it with that. But unfortunately, yeah, no.
That is very unfortunate.
Because yes,
Oh, well.
I could keep playing Rugby 08 until the heat death of the universe. But at this point, I've been playing it for so long, I know all the tricks and it's easy. Even on the hardest difficulty, it's easy. And at some point, I do, want some kind of challenge.
Well, someone's sounding a lot like a Souls-like player right now.
I'm sorry, it just gets slightly dull winning every game 60 points to nothing.
I mean, you're not wrong there.
You're not wrong. He's not wrong, but he shouldn't say it.
Mm.
Hello?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
just didn't
No,
really know
I
what...
thought my entire...
No, I just
No,
didn't...
my screen froze, and I thought that was my entire phone freezing.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's not ideal. That would not be ideal.
didn't really
Yeah,
know
okay.
how to follow up on that, because it's depressing but true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I suppose one of the differences here, Mill, is that you play sport, or at
Yeah.
least you enjoy sport.
Yeah,
Whereas for me, that's never...
never been an issue.
That's, yeah, it's never been, like, a draw for me. Like, on a psychological level, I do understand the appeal of sport. It's just on a personal level that
Yeah,
is not really my thing.
I was somewhat unfortunately indoctrinated at a young age and couldn't get out of it.
Very unfortunate.
That is how they tend to get you, sadly.
Not helping was the fact that I also, played the damn sport for 10 years, so yeah. I don't regret the playing of the sport, to be fair. I enjoyed the sport, playing it, and I somewhat wish I had continued. Though I have
That can't be helped at this stage.
no idea what, form my life would have taken if I had.
I think the issue with sports is similar to the issue with a lot of other things of that nature, in the sense that it requires a level of striving and motivation that does not come easily to everyone. There are absolutely
Not to mention,
people...
like, requires a lot of dedication as well.
Yeah.
That's sort of what I meant. But yeah, like, there are absolutely people who have the brain for that, but there are people who just don't.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to the fact that I am a naturally competitive person, as you know, certainly Jack can attest to, having me having played against him in various games and board games. I am.
Yeah, no, you are the antithesis of the cooperative player.
Yep. If a
Yeah,
game is
no,
a
believe,
competition,
no,
if a
I
game
know.
is if a
Believe
game
me, I know.
if a game is competition, I'm gonna win that game. If I have anything to say about it, that doesn't involve helping my fellow players. It is a fault of mine. I am overly competitive, and so you know, playing sports suited me in that sense. But it also, you know, created some friction because you know there were people who weren't, you know, as competitive as I was.
I will be right back.
So you know, I would get very frustrated when people weren't, you know, being serious during training. Um, for example, I think I mellowed out on that as I got older. But you know, certainly, I would say early in my high school career, you know, I was getting frustrated that people didn't seem to be taking it as seriously because to them it was just, you know, a hobby, something to do, something to keep them active.
Hmm.
Um, I would also imagine part of that comes down to my incredibly undiagnosed, you know, at least ADHD, if not ADHD. You know,
Hmm.
turning rugby into a hyperfixation.
Okay, you need to know these things about rugby before you can play on the team. All right, I'm gonna run down the entire list of 157,000 items.
I mean, not even that. You know, I had a mate who was on the team, and then was like, "Oh, do you think you know you could fit?" Because I'd been playing it for probably 4 years at that point. Um, you know, he asked me, "Oh, hey, you know, can you help me figure out what position I need to play?" And I went, you know, entirely too in depth on, you know, okay, so what are you like athletically, and you know, how does that suit to these positions, sort of thing. And you know, it just it didn't go overall well because he was not that into it, into the sport as a whole.
Ah, yes, the old TISM divide.
Yeah, that probably didn't help me overall. But yeah, you know, it is what it is. I can't change it now.
If you had a time travel device that let you undo awkward moments at will, would you take it?
Yes.
Consequences temporally be damned.
I would probably rip
Look,
apart
I'm
the
not going to
universe.
sugarcoat it.
I would probably rip apart the universe trying to travel back to a time before I started thinking about fucking worrying about the consequences of my time travel.
Hmm.
I personally, there are things that I very much regret saying slash doing,
Same.
but there's also some things that not that I don't regret them, but more that I'm just like, I think changing them would have too many unpredictable consequences.
Hmm.
Like for me personally, I think I need more of a balance between the consequences and the general trend,
Hmm.
so to speak. So there's absolutely are things I would change, but there's also things that I think I want to change, but I shouldn't. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely does. But how long would you spend worrying about whether one particular moment is one or the other?
Yes. I mean, that's the question. Why would you even ask that question? You already know the answer to that question. The answer is far too long.
Question is, would I turn back time so that I... Oh, things are frozen. I don't like that.
I mean, I know the movie was a bit overrated, but it wasn't that bad.
Okay. OBS is a... Well, there we go. The game just fucking closed. Great.
Is the stream still on?
The stream is fine. Just the
Okay.
game crashed.
I mean, like, let's be real. The game is irrelevant to the stream.
It is, yeah.
For this particular flavor of stream.
But yeah. Question is, would I turn back time to stop myself from reading Phantom Seer so I wouldn't get so upset when it inevitably got axed?
That speaking of character flaws, Mill, you do have a tendency to like start reading series far too early.
Series that get axed, yeah.
To be fair, that was very early on in my sort of weekly manga reading, and I didn't know any better. Now I feel like I get significantly less attached to series.
I mean, it's not even an issue of attachment. The issue is more that you just like still do it.
But sometimes I find really good series that survive. You know, I probably wouldn't have read Akane Banashi or Kagurabachi without that.
I mean, you probably would have gotten to them eventually, but you wouldn't have read them from the beginning.
Yeah. And now I get to be that fucking hipster who said, oh yeah, I liked them before they were cool.
Why are you allowed to do it and I'm not?
I didn't say you couldn't do it.
You're both allowed to do it.
Yeah, I just we're just
You're not
gonna call you a
being
hipster.
roasted over it.
Yeah, you're just gonna get called a hipster because of it. That's the point.
Once again, you're right, but you shouldn't say it.
Yeah. But you know, every so often there are still series that I get too attached to, and there's no guarantee of them surviving. I mean, I'm gonna be real upset if Shinobi Undercover dies. We'll say that. Because that's genuinely been really good.
Well, alright, be honest with us, Mill. What do you think is the next upcoming casualty?
That one's hard to say because we've just had 4 deaths. There's not really a lot that can be on the chopping block at the moment.
Were any of those death series you were interested in / invested in?
Not that much. One of them I wasn't even reading. The other 3 very much sort of saw the writing on the wall. Because we had Star of Beethoven, which was sort of fun, but also sort of not that good. We had Embers, which is a football one, which was okay, but yeah, just not that good. What was the... Oh, Sidcraft, yeah. Sidcraft, there's already a better fucking harem rom-com series in the magazine at the moment anyway, so yeah, I wasn't that bothered about it.
Ew.
I mean, of the series that are actually sort of at a point to be axed, sort of over the 17 to 20 chapter mark, Shinobi Undercover, I think, is the most recent one that could be axed. but I don't think it will. I think it's going to survive for at least another little while. Hematen, again, I think it's doing well enough that it should be okay. Ichi the Witch, definitely not getting axed. There's absolutely no way in hell it's getting axed.
Each of the Witch is very popular.
Legitimately, I think the magazine would be coming to an end if they axed it. Because I don't think there's any justifiable reason to axe it. But everything else, we're basically at a point of waiting for it to get enough chapters. I don't have high hopes for Nice Prison. I don't have overly high hopes for Ota, as much as I'm enjoying it. So those might be the next two axes. So we will see, I guess. But yeah, we've got at least. Nice Prison is on chapter 10 right now, so we've at least got another couple of months before we have to worry about that. And I wonder if they might not just hold back to see if there are any deserving of axes in the new batch that's just come out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the oldest of
Is
which
there
is like chapter 4 or 3 or something like that.
Is there like a schedule for axing, or is it just like
No.
Not
it could just
particularly, I
happen
don't think. It's the point is the vast majority of series that get axed, it happens, when they've had at least a volume's worth of sales out, if not 2. So the first volume generally comes out as series are approaching the 16 to 20 chapter mark.
Mm-hmm.
So, but sometimes you'll get batches where every single series from it gets axed. Sometimes you'll get batches when every series survives at least the initial axe period. Some series get axed later on. I mean, fucking the two big examples I've got of that were fucking Siren, which was axed chapter 145, and Sextuple P axed chapter 70.
Most series they tend to get axed in the in like the 15 30 chapter range, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
I remember Siren.
It was an interesting series. But it's probably one of the more vicious axings I've seen. Because it was basically in the middle of an arc, and then suddenly the final big bad appeared.
Yeah, that is a pretty bad case.
And it ended at like
at
3
least
chapters after
they,
that.
At least they allowed that final big bad to show up at all.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting how some series do it. Some series do just rush the big bad in there. Some series act as if nothing's going on, and then suddenly it's like, oh, hey, we're ending the series now. But you just set up for a new arc. Yeah, I know, but the series is ending. I mean, that happened with Star of Beethoven. There was no indication that the series was ending until suddenly it was like, oh, hey, yeah, it's finished. We got to the end of this arc, it's finished. But what about other stuff? Nope, it's finished. You can also go the Red Hood route of fucking burn it all down.
I'm honestly shocked that the author of Red Hood got another series, and so like relatively soon.
Yeah, I hate to think what they're gonna do if Oda gets axed.
I think Oder, it's similar enough based off of the premise and the character designs from what little I've seen of it, but different enough that it can stand out on its own. Because most series in Jump do not have that kind of aesthetic.
Look, the art,
Like
the art is
aesthetic.
really good, but I would say certainly early on, story and character are more important than art. Because I've seen some I've seen some really good-looking series get axed before their time because the story doesn't quite match up, and I've seen some fucking not great-looking series survive for way too long. I mean, High School. I'm not even including High School Family in that because its story and character weren't even that good from what I know. But
you don't need to tell us about your grudge with High School Family. We know.
I was actually going to use Kagurabachi as an example. The art wasn't bad, but it was certainly significantly worse than it is now.
I was actually gonna say something to the or rather on the subject of authors. Do you think most manga authors are one-hit wonders?
Probably.
It depends.
I mean,
like
it's
anyone who's done a long-running shonen, with like 2 exceptions I can think of.
Actually, yeah, no, it's more the big hits in Jump, I would say, that seem to be sort of more one-hit wondery. Because even in Jump, you've got an author like Matsui who's had now 3 pretty well-regarded series.
Which ones?
Assassination Classroom, Elusive Samurai, and Neuro, I think is the name. I can't remember exactly.
Oh yeah.
Don't forget F-Ken.
That was a one-shot. I'm not counting that.
F-Ken is a one-shot. That does not count.
No, but I know you
refuse to forget it, but I want to forget it because it was weird and not that indicative of the rest of Matsui's work.
I was gonna say he is one of the few exceptions. Like he's literally the only one I can think of off the top of my head who has actually like had multiple good series under his belt.
Yeah.
That seems to be very uncommon.
You didn't say anything about... I wouldn't necessarily be counting this as good, but popular. You have fucking... Mashima. You have the Fire Force author, Okubo?
Yeah, Okubo. And you also have the Death Note duo.
You have the Death Note duo. To a certain extent, the Seven Deadly Sins author.
Wait, what did the Death Note duo do other than Death Note?
Platinum End and
they did
Bakuman?
Bakuman, yeah.
Yeah.
One of these things is not like the others.
No, it's really not. And yet, it is.
Yeah, that is the depressing part of it, isn't it?
Because Bakuman has some real issues writing-wise.
Platinum End... I regret not realizing that the author was who it was. Because Platinum End is a series that I personally believe had the potential to be something, to tell a very interesting story, and then just decided to be Burr, humanity is evil.
Yeah.
Yes. Hobbes was right, go Burr.
Well, not even that. It was a case of, like, just having an inexplicable sudden downer of an ending for like no apparent reason.
Okay, here's an interesting question then. Are we considering Akasaka a one-hit wonder?
I was gonna bring him up.
Are we
because
gonna-
Is a one-hit wonder in terms of having one well-received ending to a work of theirs,
Mm.
and that is it.
so I am very much qualifying one-hit wonder in the sense of quality, not popularity.
Okay.
And yes, he very much counts because you know.
Yeah.
I think Kage is the only work of his that has a genuinely well-regarded ending, even if like there are issues with the manga, especially in like the latter half.
Yeah.
I really don't like the tonal whiplash that the last arc went through.
Yeah, the last like arc is not good. Like the final stretch of the manga is fairly good.
I'm trying to think. I mean, what I think will be interesting is if this new gen of authors like Gotoge, fucking Horikoshi, and blanking on JJK's author
Akutami.
Akutami do actually write another series.
Yeah, they certainly like have
Gotoge in particular,
proven that
I
they're
could
able to.
Horikoshi and Akutami, I could genuinely see just not doing it because their health got fucked in the end. Certainly, I think they would probably go more towards a monthly magazine. Would be my guess, or
Even just having an artist or an art team.
that as well,
Mhm.
or a fortnightly release schedule. I don't see them going towards a weekly release schedule again. But Gotoge, who, as far as I can tell, didn't suffer that much from the weekly grind, at least not to the same extent that Horikoshi and Akutami did. I think it'll be really interesting to see what they do.
And Gotoge, the other thing with Gotoge is I don't know if Gotoge has mentioned anything about any possible plans for another manga.
Yeah, you do have to consider like
I mean, the point is they have made enough money from Demon Slayer and are probably still continuing to make enough money from Demon Slayer. They are probably just taking their time with it. I mean, fucking.
They're set for life.
I mean, Matsui took a fair amount of time to start Elusive Samurai after Ass Class.
I was also gonna say, the thing about Horikoshi and Akutami in particular is I don't know whether they hold this opinion, but
What, you didn't send them an email to check, Fuzzy? I can't believe you.
Tisk.
I do believe that they kind of fumbled the ending of their series.
So you think they might want a, redemption type of thing?
I wouldn't even phrase it like that. I'm just like, I wonder if they also think that they could have done better. And because I wouldn't say it was bad that either series were bad, like ended badly enough that it warrants talks of redemption. I'm more of the opinion that I wonder if they're aware that they could have done some things differently that might have been better.
That's possible.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, we are obviously aware that there were some issues in the final arcs of both series.
Yeah.
I don't think you're gonna
Yes.
like fight me on that.
No.
No one's gonna fight on that.
I don't contest
Listen,
that. I
y'all
don't
fight me on
contest that
so
there
many
were
things. I never
issues.
know what you're gonna fight me on or not.
I don't contest that there were issues. I'm just saying that I think the issues have a reason, and I think the reasons are valid. Namely, that the fucking Shonen Jump weekly grind kills people.
Yeah, it very much felt like the final arc of JJK was like there was some hate writing going on there.
I wouldn't even say that. I just, I think that the final arc suffered more than the rest of the series from the fact that Akutami basically decided, look, I already wanted to finish this, a lot quicker than my predecessors in Naruto and Bleach and Dragon Ball and whatever. I'm gonna have to speed that ending even more. Speed that ending up even more now to avoid, being hospitalized.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm just like I I'm just scared that the Sukuna glazing was done in sound mind. Like I want to believe that Sukuna being balls deep in Akutami for the entirety of the final arc was due to him not being of sound mind.
I think the other interesting factor will be will Shonen Jump even want them to do a new series, or will they basically just go, no, you're fine just being on standby for when we need, new JJK stuff or new My Hero stuff?
That's actually another thing I was going to bring up is that they're not obligated to like they don't have a lifetime contract with Shonen Jump, right?
Probably not.
So like they could go to another magazine.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely they could. Um,
So I wonder if they
I mean,
would be like keen to jump ship in that way.
we've seen that a couple of times recently because we had the Tokyo Revengers author. I mean, it was the other way around, coming to Shonen Jump rather than going away from it. We had the Tokyo Revengers author doing a series in Shonen Jump, which got axed because it wasn't very good. And currently we have the Iruma author writing a series, Ichi the Witch,
Which is very good.
which is very good.
Wait a second. Ichi the Witch is by the Iruma guy.
Yep. Iruma,
Yeah, the
woman.
Iruma author.
Yeah.
It's both written and illustrated by women.
By the Iruma lady.
Yeah, so the writing is done by the Iruma author. The art is done by the artist for Act Age, if you remember back in the day.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I remember.
Yeah, I'm very glad
that one's hard to forget.
Yeah, I'm just glad.
Reasons.
I'm glad she's landed on her feet, and now she's getting, a lot of props for her amazing art, justifiably. Ichi the Witcher looks very, very good.
I don't know if I should be concerned or not that the author of Iruma is a woman.
Why would you need to be concerned about that?
There's a not insignificant chunk of male power fantasy in Iruma. Really, you're just gonna leave me hanging on that? No comment on that or anything.
Yes.
Yeah. I would disagree. But
As would I.
Yeah.
One of these days, I'm going to have the motivation to actually write a paper on this, and then you'll all see.
Uh-huh.
Way to
Sure.
sound like a supervillain there, Fuzzy.
So, complete unrelated note. Do you think Two-Face needs eye drops?
Probably.
Depends on which version of Two-Face.
You know, like the Arkham version or the Aaron Eckhart version, for example.
I think they have other things to worry about.
Again, I just want to see a storyline of Two-Face where, like, he split personality with Harvey Dent, and they both practice law, but in different ways, culminating in, a trial where one's the prosecutor and one's the defense attorney.
That would honestly be pretty funny.
I would be shocked if that doesn't already exist. That just strikes me as something that is obvious enough that surely someone's done it already.
Someone might have, like, penned a draft for it, but I don't think it actually exists in the actual, like, proper comics.
But that's because DC refuses to do anything actually fun with Batman. And the Batman,
They've done some good stuff with Batman, it's just been a while.
Yeah, they killed Alfred recently. And they haven't brought him back
I
yet.
heard about that.
Annoying.
They'll bring him
It's
back.
like-
They always do.
Well, like, you know how there used to be a saying in the comic book fandom that no one stays dead except for Jason Todd, Bucky Barnes, and Uncle Ben. Guess what?
Two of those have
guys
come
got brought back.
Yeah.
Like, so the thing is, Uncle Ben stays dead.
Makes a mean packet of rice.
I don't think we're allowed to say that anymore. But also, bringing him back doesn't actually serve a purpose. Or rather, it's not worth it.
Yeah, there's no real reason to.
Yeah. With Jason Todd and Bucky Barnes, they exist outside of their deaths.
Mm-hmm.
Uncle Ben really just does not.
Yeah.
That's the thing with most origin story deaths. Like, take the Waynes, for example. Literally the only instance in which they've been brought back in recent continuity outside of, like, alternate universe shit is Flashpoint. And that is technically alternate universe shit as well. That got rewritten after the event ended.
Yeah, the Waynes are one of the more complicated, or one of the more straightforward examples. A far more complicated occurrence is when is Ma and Pa Kent. Because they can never decide if they want Ma and Pa Kent to be dead or alive.
I mean, I'm of the opinion that they should always stay alive.
Yeah, it's one of the very few clear-cut superhero things where it's just like they just are more interesting alive than dead.
Yeah.
Narratively speaking.
Yeah.
Now, Kryptonian society, on the other hand,
Listen, we
Like-
don't talk about Mr. Oz, okay? Or did you miss that, Jack?
No. What are you talking about? Who's Mr. Oz? Oh, that. Yes, I remember.
Yeah, okay, yeah. We don't talk about Mr. Oz. So, like, one of the annoying things that I think has been retconned, thankfully, uh, in Rebirth, was that Ma and Pa Kent died in a car accident.
No, they didn't get retconned to die in Rebirth. I think it was New 52, but I could be misremembering. Oh, no. You might be talking about the Absolute series.
This is why I could never
Listen,
get
I
into
haven't-
comics.
So Absolute is an alternate universe thing where like major characters are given very different origins, basically stripping them bare to basically like their essence without like a core of their essence. So, like for example, Absolute Batman grew up broke without his riches,
Didn't he grow
and
up in like an
Absolute Wonder Woman.
Didn't he grow up in like an orphanage with a
In an
bunch
orphanage,
of his villains as well, like kid versions of his villains?
Yes. Yeah, I think it's like Two-Face, Killer Croc, Catwoman, and one or two others.
Mhm.
So you're telling me they decided to give Batman a childhood friend romance?
Kinda.
For both genders.
Mm-hmm.
Are y'all aware that in many mainstream continuities, including I think the current running continuity, Two-Face and Batman were in fact childhood friends?
Yes, I remember that. It's changed
They're-
in the continuities. In fact, within individual continuities, it's changed because if I remember right, the Arkhamverse version of Two-Face in Arkham City, he didn't know Bruce Wayne until they were both adults, and then Arkham Knight retconned it, or Origins retconned it back to they knew each other as children.
But yes, they do consistently tend to know each other, and there is a not insignificant amount of sexual tension there.
In fairness, there's like a good third of Batman's rogues gallery that he has some degree of sexual tension with. Okay, maybe I'm highballing it. A quarter.
So here's the thing. Too many of Batman's rogues gallery are far more deeply mentally ill than a lot of other rogues galleries, so there's less room. For example, Mr. Freeze. He's a wife guy. He doesn't have time for sexual tension with Batman. He's too busy trying to save his wife.
Yes.
Um,
One of the core themes of Batman's rogues gallery is madness. Like one of the other ones is foils for the foils for Batman.
Oh, that actually reminds me of another trope that I'm quite fond of.
Oh,
Hmm?
go ahead.
One of the other tropes I'm quite fond of is the it's not quite the punch clock villain trope, but the trope where the bad guys and the hero have a relatively amicable relationship.
Oh yeah, like Flash and his rogues.
Yes, that's what the constant thoughts of Rogues Gallery and rogues in general made me think of them.
And Doofenshmirtz and Perry the Platypus.
They're the more straightforward example of the trope. So let me explain for you and anyone else who isn't comics pilled mill. The Flash, right? You're familiar with him?
Yes.
My name is Barry Allen, and I am the fastest. Sorry, wrong version.
We do not talk about the CW Flash. Just blonde man in skin tight red spandex who run fast.
Are you sure you're not talking about Pietro?
No. But like
It sounds like you're talking about Pietro.
No, it's red spandex. No.
Not silver, red.
He was pretty red when he got shot in Age of Ultron.
No, but like canonically, Flash is one of the most powerful entities in the universe. But his rogues, they rob banks. That's about it. They steal things. They don't murder. They don't do like peddle drugs. They don't involve civilians. They rob banks. That's it. And they do this partially out of practicality. Because they know that while... Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, Flash is perfectly capable of wrecking their shit utterly, and he goes easy on them because they have very clear code.
And whenever there's a new guy in town who tries and stir the pot, generally what ends up happening is it's the rogues who who lay down the law, because they know that if it escalates to the level where the Flash has to take care of it, they might get caught as collateral damage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, this doesn't hold for some Flash's other villains like Gorilla Grodd or the pettiest motherfucker in DC Comics, Eobard Thawne.
Listen, we do not talk about the guy.
Petty.
We do not talk about the guy who literally went back in time for the sole purpose of becoming Barry Allen's abusive stepfather.
Oh god, I was gonna say fuck his mum as a joke.
No, he really did that. Canonically.
Another thing he did, at one point, he went back in time and erased Barry Allen's a childhood friend from existence so that Barry Allen would grow up lonely.
And the funniest thing, there's not even a reason for it.
Nope.
Like, he's just petty. Flash didn't do anything to him. He just decided one day, I am going to be the world's most accomplished hater, picked a target, and went to town.
Again, pettiest motherfucker in DC Comics.
In comics in general, really. Marvel doesn't have anyone nearly as petty as him.
Doom.
Touché.
Some of Doom's pettiness is warranted, though.
There are some... Okay.
Talking specifically about the one where Doom was going to marry a woman, and then fucking the reveal that Johnny slept with her. At the altar. I think Doom's punishments there were warranted.
No,
at least to Johnny.
That was one of the... Yeah, but that's very much the minority situation.
I'm aware.
Doom is... So here's the difference. Doom is more generally evil.
Doom does interact with other heroes, whereas Thawne is almost exclusively Flash, yes.
Is exclusively anyone else that he causes harm to are just collateral damage.
Yes.
He never intends to mess with anyone but the Flash. If he
Unless
has to
it is, in fact, to mess with the Flash.
Yes, that is the only... Even then, right? he's tried to mess with the Flash through the Justice League a few times, and the Justice League are not having any of that. Like, some of the few times he actually loses is when he involves people other than the Flash.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, but yes, so but going back to the whole punch clock villains thing, is I enjoy the dynamic of the hero and the villain having like a good relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think I do like there being some degree of antagonism, though.
Yeah, of course.
With Doofenshmirtz and Perry, they're just like lovers who are into roleplay.
They're BFFs.
And also possibly... Okay, what is Perry's relationship with Phineas and Ferb? Is he a sibling,
Yes.
or are they his parents?
I would say sibling.
Mm.
If Perry is Phineas and Ferb's sibling, then Doofenshmirtz has banged his mom.
Oh yeah, you're referring to that headcanon, or that implied canon, rather.
Well, canonically, they were dating.
Canonically, they had a single date.
Was it just one? I thought they had
It was
like a
one, and Doofenshmirtz came off as Doofenshmirtz came off quite poorly, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I don't even like, even ignoring the possibility that he's Phineas's dad. Though I actually don't believe that theory for a very simple reason.
Which is
I don't think either of the parents and either the mom or Doofenshmirtz would be like that uncaring as to not even check.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
And
here's the
we've
thing: they'd also
seen-
have to have a long enough relationship that both Candace and Phineas could be born, and there's at least a good 3 or 4 year gap.
No, they don't have to have... Candace and Phineas don't necessarily have the same dad.
I'm fairly sure it's been said that they do.
Do they? Okay, that changes things. Okay, yeah. Again, but even then, I never believed the theory in the first place, simply because Doof is too good a dad to not care. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also don't think Phineas's mom would deny the possibility of child support in that scenario.
Mm.
So yes, I never thought so. But do you think if it was an all ages show, or a not a children's show, Doofenshmirtz would eventually at one point be frustrated and be like, Perry the Platypus, I have engaged in the frick-frack with your mother in the past.
Maybe.
Or do you think that would make it weird?
I think that would be.
That probably would
I
make
think
it
that
weird,
would be
actually.
too antagonistic for their relationship.
Then perhaps the plot point would be they find out from a third party and it becomes awkward for a while.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Like that time he was cheating on Perry with Peter the Panda.
That was a weird storyline that I wasn't necessarily a fan of.
It was.
God.
It did get a bit uncomfortable. Still, Doofenshmirtz does hold a very unique position in the history of the English language.
Oh yeah, because of the Nichols thing.
Yes, he is the only. He is the catalyst for the only complete reversal of an established idiom in the 21st century.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure. At least I cannot think of any other idioms that have become completely reversed in the zeitgeist due to a single media property.
Hmm.
Mm.
Can you?
Nope.
We need to think of a second one so that we can do the meme, people.
Yeah.
I mean, the only other one that I can think of, and it's not a a saying as such, but fucking Bugs Bunny changing the meaning of Nimrod.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I did say 21st century.
Okay, yeah, that's just
There's
being
only-
a bit
There's only been
naggly there.
there's only been 25 years of the 21st century. It's not that much
That's
time,
a quarter of the century done.
but comparatively, there's
It
just
is
not that
wild how
much
much-
time. Anyway, we've hit 2 hours, so we should probably call it a day.
Yes.
Mhm.
So thank you everybody for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Future stuff Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Sunday will be the spring 2025 anime wrap up and award stream. Look forward to that. Please do give us a follow here on Twitch and all that YouTube stuff.
Like,
leave a comment down
subscribe.
below.
And hit that
Oh,
bell icon if you enjoyed the video.
You'll really need to coordinate.
Too many cooks.
And otherwise, hopefully we'll see you on Saturday, maybe Sunday if I don't have time on Saturday. But otherwise, good night.
Later.
Bye-bye.